All right, folks. So we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who are watching after the fact on YouTube, this is going to look a little bit different for you just because our speaker today is actually presenting on Zoom. So what I will do is I'll run through just kind of our basic intro, what we're going to cover tonight, and then I'll turn it over to him. He is going to screen share up here. I know that, again, those of you watching on YouTube, can't really see that as well. So I'm going to compile both the slides that I present, just like I did last week, along with our presenter slides, all into one package. And then those are going to go up on the shared resource folder. All of that will be linked down below in the YouTube description. So just so you know, those of you that are here in person, again, thank you for attending. It won't look too different on your end, but just wanted to give that heads up to those who are here on YouTube. So today's session for the Be Your Own Boss Bowl workshop series is on market opportunity and the competitive landscape. And so as we always do, just kind of going through the 5 quick steps as to how to get started in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. Step number 1 is to create a startup tree profile. Not only does this give you some access to some really cool resources that we have here at Temple, it also allows you the very key feature of being able to save your submission when you are ready to submit and be able to come back to it later. If you register as a guest, it just is a little bit harder. You need to kind of sit down all at once and do it, or work on it in a Word document and go back and forth. So as long as you're a member, you can save your submission and come back to it. So definitely a nice perk of being able to do that. Step number 2 is to create your draft. So this QR code will take you to the submission portal. Again, kind of all of what you need is spelled out in the long description there. You can begin your draft and see all of the different things that you need to answer, all the files you need to upload, all of that is there. And if you have any questions, it directs you where to reach out on here as well. The resources folder, that QR code may be wrong, so those of you that are here, don't scan that. I will update it before I reload or before I load it. But all of these shared resources, templates, submissions, examples, and tips, eligibility, policies, all the workshops, everything that you would need are going to be included in there. So please be sure to check that out. And then get mentoring help. We were chatting before that there's some really great mentors that are here. That is also available to you on your startup tree portal. You can see that we've got it circled here, kind of the ability to see what mentors are here and what expertise they have. You can search by tags, by expertise. A lot of them have kind of highlighted a BYOBB tag in their profile, so you can check that out as well. And then the workshop series, if you scroll to the bottom of the submission portal page, you will see our workshop series. We'll go over it a little bit more in depth as we get towards the end of the presentation. But that is, next week is preparing your financial projections and assumptions. We actually have the founder and CEO of Suitable. So if you are a current Temple student, particularly a current Temple Fox student, and you are getting those outside the classroom points, now called, oh God, Sarah's gonna kill me, Fox Forward. Is that right? Fox Forward, formerly FLDP, Fox Leadership Development Program. Mark is the founder and CEO of that company. So he's going to be here to talk all about kind of financial modeling and projections and kind of how he incorporates that into his world, how he used it when he was starting up, and how he uses them now as somebody who's running a successful business. And then on February 18th, we are having Pitching 101, kind of all about the art of the pitch. That is led by Fox alum Linda Alunkel, who was a finalist in the BYOBB a couple of years ago, gone on to wear many different hats, really great speaker. We actually had to move kind of the order of our things around because she will be pitching at another symposium event when we originally had her scheduled. So looking forward to those 2 sessions. Just again, a quick timeline. The submission deadline is March 11th at 11:59 p.m. Still time TBD, but on March 9th and 10th, we are going to have our expert mentors available to you to kind of help you get you over the finish line for your submission. Again, I like to say you should not start your draft submission on those dates and come to an expert mentoring session. This is really for, hey, I'm thinking about going in a couple of different directions on this one question, or I'm stuck on how to phrase this. Can we talk about this so that I can make my submission as strong as possible? So March 11th is when the submissions are due. 25th is when the finals are announced. April 1st through 8th is when the pitch coaching will happen for those finalists. And then the live pitch event and award ceremony is on Wednesday, April 15th, starting at about 4:30 or 5 p.m. That is kind of the outline. I guess before I turn it over, any questions about anything I chatted about? Anything that anybody has questions on here in the room? Yeah. So the question was, is there a difference between the regular mentor that's on the startup tree profile and an expert mentor? The short answer is no, not really. The expert mentor, we just call it that because we have contracted them. We have asked them to be available either in person or virtually for those 2 days, March 9th and 10th, before the submissions are due. So we've just, again, time TBD, but 4 to 7 p.m., we're going to have 6 mentors available to pop in and meet with, versus reaching out to them beforehand. Again, there might be some overlap. Some might be able to be expert mentors that aren't on the profile. Some on the profile might be expert mentors. We're just calling it an expert mentoring session. Yeah, other question. So the question was, how do I submit an MVP, a minimum viable product, within your submission that's not online or not available yet? It's an app. So do you have a link to the app? But only you have access to it. Could you take some screenshots of it and maybe include them in kind of a separate presentation in addition to your slide deck? And kind of that. Okay, so I would do that. Yes. So the question is around a minimum viable product that maybe only you have access to. So if you can do a little walkthrough, maybe a video, or just kind of take some screenshots so that people get an idea of what that MVP would look like, that would be a good way to do that if it's something that only you have access to. Great question. Okay, so today we are talking about markets, customers, and competitors. So as we are kind of going through this presentation, particularly as I'm going to turn it over to Adam in just a little bit here, some things for you to be thinking about. What is your target market? How big is it? Are there multiple market segments that you are going to be targeting? And if so, which one of those should I prioritize? Who are my customers and users? What motivates them? And then who are the early adopters? Who are those folks that are maybe going to be on your waiting list, as we were talking about earlier? The first ones that are going to maybe download the beta version of your app. The ones that might be if you are opening up a food truck or coming to friends and family night to check that out. And then who are my competitors? Where are their overlaps and gaps? What are they good at? And how am I better? I'm really thinking about that last one. We'll get into some tips and tricks as to how to do that. So I'm going to step out of frame so that I can stop my screen sharing and so that Adam can join us. But Adam is one of our awesome librarians here at Temple, and he focuses specifically in the business library. So Adam, I am pulling you up on Zoom, and you should be able to share whenever you are ready. And then just a word of advice to the folks in the audience. Adam is probably going to pause, yes, to add for some questions at some point.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. So we do need to speak into a microphone for Adam to hear you. So just if you have a question, raise your hand and we'll pass around a handheld mic to make sure that he can hear you. But without further ado, Adam, take it away.
Okay, before I do that, Neil, I'm going to go ahead and send a request to record the session onto my computer. That way, folks watching on YouTube can have a higher quality video that I'll share with you.
Oh my gosh, it's like you've done this before.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. Request sent to host. So once you've confirmed that, then I'll go ahead and record. And then I'll get started. I want to do that beforehand. Okay, and I am going to share my screen and do that. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. All right, now let me figure out how to record since everything just changed on me. Okay, make sure. Neil, do you have a notice that the session is recording?
I don't see one. I mean, I see my notice, but
Okay. All right. I believe it is recording. All right, I'm
okay.
going to go ahead. I'm going to commence here. All right, everyone. Sorry about that. As Neil mentioned, my name is Adam Shambaugh. I am Charles Library's liaison to the Fox School of Business. I work with entrepreneurship students from across the university and other kind of entrepreneurship entities on campus as well. I'm also the liaison to sport, tourism, and hospitality management, and I work with those folks on a lot of business related uh, research projects as well. I've worked with the Be Your Own Boss Bowl for as long as I've been at Temple, which is a very, very long time. I have a pretty good handle on how the projects unfold, how the challenge unfolds. This workshop is to familiarize you with different tools that are available through the libraries that can help you be more successful in the creation of a pitch deck, better understanding your markets, better understanding the industry, and kind of emerging trends and developments that are related specifically to your idea. Okay. Before I begin, I want to say a few things about myself and about the libraries. My email address is adams@temple.edu. This is the best way to get in touch with me if you have questions. I should understand that this is not your one and only chance to understand everything there is to know about secondary market research or consumer research. There are plenty of opportunities to have further conversation about your project and to work with me individually or as a small group to get the information that you need. You can also find our information, including how to get in touch with us, at library.temple.edu. We do a lot of different consultation and interaction with students and other researchers remotely, and that's open to anyone. So the purpose of this presentation is to familiarize you with the library's website, key electronic databases and guides that are specifically related to market research, consumer research, and small business development. I want to just take a minute and acknowledge something that's a little bit challenging about the Be Your Own Boss Bowl as far as the libraries is concerned. And that is that if you are not currently a student or employee of Temple, you won't have remote access to our electronic resources. I don't want that to be a hindrance to anyone who is an alum or is not currently affiliated with the university. And to that end, please, please, please reach out to me or to the libraries if you have a question, if you need assistance. I would be more than happy to help you. And I know that that's true of my colleagues as well. So if indeed you aren't able to access these resources remotely because you're not a current Temple affiliate, that's okay. We will do what we can to assist you and get you the information that you need.
And Adam, just to jump in and clarify, that's for current students, faculty, staff. And when I say current students, I mean both graduate and undergraduate, right?
Yes, all of these resources are available to those individuals. It's alumni that that's
Yep.
more of a challenge, but we have worked around that in years past and will continue to do so.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So specifically, I want you all to know about company and industry information, how to find trade journals and articles. And I mentioned this a little bit, but didn't state it directly here on the slide. I want you all to be familiar with resources for finding consumer and market information. I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay. And then I've already mentioned my own email address, my own contact, but know that you can also chat with us. You can send an email to the library's queue, and you can also set up a consultation if you need to have a more in-depth conversation. My experience with BYOBB is that you all come to the table with very diverse, very innovative projects. And this presentation, which is sort of an all things to all people sort of presentation, doesn't cut to the core of all the different ideas and diverse projects that you're working on. So for sure, the consultation and where we do a deep dive into more specialized tools can be really beneficial to you down the road. All right. This is a kind of an overwhelming slide a little bit. These are the resources that I think anyone in an entrepreneurship situation, anyone who's interested in launching a business would benefit from knowing about. There are others. Actually, there are quite a few others, but I think these are the tools that, for my money and my experience with this, are the ones that folks are going to really lean on pretty heavily in order to demonstrate to potential investors, potential customers, et cetera, you know what you're talking about. You have quantitative and qualitative information that demonstrates that your idea is viable and it makes sense. So I'm going to say a little bit about these tools, but I'm also going to demonstrate them, to some extent or another. Business Source Complete is an article database, and it contains only business sources, but a variety of source types. So perhaps most notably are the trade journal articles. If you're not familiar with that, trade journals are they're publications that are intended for individuals who are practitioners in a given industry. And so they're industry specific, market specific publications. And it's often a great place to go to get information about innovation, competition, and regulatory issues and disruptive factors in a given industry. CB Insights can't emphasize enough the value of this resource for small business folks. CB Insights is the only tool that we at Temple have and that most universities have that will enable you to do small company, privately held startup research for potential competitors, folks that might be potential partners as well, and then also investors. So if you're looking for, kind of private information about who is invested in and whom in terms of companies, CB Insights is going to be invaluable to you. Understanding who your competitors are in the field, how they differ from you, how your idea fills a gap. This is going to be one of probably the most central resources for that type of information. The next two resources, Simply Analytics and Mintel Market Research. These are both kind of consumer-focused tools that do two very different things and function very differently. Simply Analytics is a mapping tool. It uses GIS technology, and it allows you to, at a very geographic specific level, see who buys what products, what kind of psychographic and demographic characteristics define those communities, and what kinds of leisure activities and lifestyle activities those folks are involved in. So if you have a project, and a lot of you do, that's specific to Philadelphia or the surrounding areas or another geography, Simply Analytics is going to be really helpful to understand communities, even as granular as the zip code at the zip code level. Mintel is not going to have that same geographic component, but it's going to have detailed consumer information and analysis that is both quantitative, but also very descriptive with good kind of deep dive into consumer trends and things like that. Next up, IBIS World is an industry database. These are systematic, consistently formatted reports about a variety of industries. So consumer industries, as well as manufacturing industries, and a lot of emerging industries are included in there. And I'll just say with IBIS World, there tend to be other types of reports, not just traditional industrial information, but things like related to education, related to nonprofits, related to other things that might be relevant to you. And I think this could be a great resource really for anyone to better understand the broad context of what it is you're working in, i.e. the industry. Business plan handbooks. This is kind of a little bit of an old school resource, but I think it's good to see sample business plans related to what you're doing. Business plans are sort of a more traditional way of coming up with a business idea, but I think sometimes they do help you to kind of think about things, aspects or angles of a project that you may have missed otherwise. So taking a look at those can be helpful. And that's just a collection of sample business plans that you just do a keyword search for. I won't demo that resource. I think it's pretty simple. Lastly, Statista. I like Statista a lot. It is the resource that is the most data related resource that's the easiest to use. It is aggregated statistics, meaning processed statistics from other publishers. There's no raw data, so it's not like CSV files or things like that, but it is going to give you good visualizations, charts, infographics, things like that. And I think for you all who are creating a pitch deck, who are trying to present in a visual way to your audience what it is you're trying to do, or trends that are happening that you're responding to, or projections that you anticipate, having some visuals and quantitative information to back up your idea, even if you have a good handle on that idea yourself, being able to demonstrate that you've done your homework really for all of these tools. That's a lot of the impetus for this kind of research, is to show to your audience, to a potential investor, like, I've crossed my T's and dotted my I's here, and I know what's going on. And there's a lot of data to back up the idea that I have. Okay. These guides at guides.temple.edu, these are things that I've created personally to help you make sense of different resources. These are the specific ones. One's a small business guide, one's a marketing guide, and one's a more general business research guide. These would include more library databases, but it would also include free things from the web, and other types of tools that aren't sort of outside of the scope of traditional library stuff, that can help you with the sort of different facets of running a small business, starting a small business, looking for funding, things like that. And I'll show a little bit of those guides as well. I want to go ahead and jump in.
Adam, real quick.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
the URLs that you just shared, the guides.temple.edu, is
Right.
that available to alumni that aren't on campus?
Those guides are definitely available. They're available to anyone, but they will link to some stuff that's behind Temple's, that requires AccessNet ID in order to get a hold of. But
Okay.
again, definitely reach out and we'll make that work. This is the library's website. It's library.temple.edu. I'm going to jump out of my slide deck here and go over and demonstrate some of the things that are available, some of the stuff that I just referred to. And then I'll kind of wrap things up and give you guys an opportunity to ask questions if you have any. All right. Okay, I'm going to disappear here while I do this. So this is the library's website. For those of you who are current students, or if you work at Temple, you can get to this through TU Portal. You can see it in Canvas pages and things like that, but you can simply just go to this URL or Google us and you'll find us. And the first thing I want you guys to be aware of is this staff directory, this contact us link, this 24-hour chat service. We monitor this all day, all night. We partner with a few other libraries in different parts of the world so that we can do this. And if you ask a question that's very technical, very business specific, it's likely that they're going to refer you to me, and I'll get that in my email and we'll respond that way. Want to just talk a little bit about our staff. I'm just one guy. I'm the sort of the business expert here, but there are lots of folks on staff that have expertise in a variety of areas. If you have a topic that's related to the health sciences, or that's related to technology, or that's related to geography or computer science or something like that, it's likely that there's someone on staff who can help you in those areas as well. And in order to see who's who, you can search over here, and I'll just show you my profile and my information here. If you need to set up a consultation with me, you can do so here. I'm mostly available over Zoom, but I'm on campus sometimes as well if you want to meet in person, and you can see both of those options available here to you. That's again under the contact us link and then the staff directory. So let me go ahead and talk about our library databases, how to get to them, and what they're about. So under databases, you can see we have lots and way too many sources here. The resources, most of the ones that I mentioned to you all in my slides are available by going under subject and doing a search under business. And you can see even in that case, many of the best resources or the ones that I think are most helpful are listed here under best bets. But to be honest with you, I didn't highlight some of the consumer and market resources because that's only relevant to one section of business folks. I'm going to start with Business Source Complete. Business Source Complete is a very straightforward article aggregator from EBSCO. It's easy to use. It's pretty much as simple as using a Google search, but it does contain a lot of very unique and helpful business-related information. So I'm going to do a search for medical devices, and I'm going to add another term, add the word orthopedics to that. And I'm really just doing this to give you guys some examples of what it looks like when you search within this resource. You're going to get quite a few results, and you have the option here of limiting your results by source type, which I encourage you to do. Trade journals, there are specific publications that focus on just about any industry you can imagine. And for those of you who want to understand more about your industry, whether it's a medical device company or a food truck or a mobile app, or a health monitoring device or what have you, there's probably going to be a trade publication that focuses on that specifically. Other things that you can see here, SWOT analyses for bigger companies. This can be helpful because of the opportunities and threats component of a SWOT analysis. You can see how is any company in that industry faring and what are some of the issues that they need to look into and be aware of. I'm going to filter my results by trade journal. And when I do that, you'll see that the stuff that I get here is not going to be from an academic publication, but instead it's going to be from these journals that are intended for practitioners, intended for people specifically within a given field. You can see here, like this kind of aging baby boomers is a boon for medical device makers. So that's the kind of, maybe that kind of data point that you would want to present. Okay, well, here's a demographic shift that makes my business idea favorable. People are busy. They go to food trucks more because they don't have time to cook. And here's some data that proves that. These are the kinds of things that you might find in a trade publication. So there's a lot of good stuff in Business Source Complete. Other types of things that are included here, industry profiles, country level reports, sometimes BYOBB. Participants have more international focus in their work. For sure, you can find good foreign data as well. There's a few other resources for that as also, and I'll talk about that. Okay. The next resource, and I mentioned this in my slide deck, is CB Insights. This is the tool to use for private company startup type research. I'm going to take a second here and make sure I have the right information as I go here. That's not it. So just to mention, CB Insights and Simply Analytics will require that you register to use the resource. And it's very useful because you'll want to save the data that you collect and the reports that you generate in this resource. All right, so within this resource, you can find all sorts of information about startups, about competitors, and it can really be very, very small entities. We're talking 2 employees in Philadelphia who are working out of a garage or something. There's likely a record for them. They'll include things like media mentions and funding cycles, so you can see what kind of information is available and what kind of history that company has. I'm going to start with just by showing you guys a bigger company, because I think it does a good job of explaining sort of what a report in CB Insights looks like and the kind of stuff that you would find here. So Discord, which is a social platform for gaming and other types of online activities. This is still a private company, even though it's very big and has been around for quite a while. You would not find a record for Discord in a lot of other business databases, but CB Insights has a very robust presentation of this company. What you can see here, this tab that says networks will provide you with information about who Discord's competitors are. So for example, if you have a business plan that is related to alternative energy, for example, you might wish to know who your competitors are. And if you can come up with 1 or 2 competitors, you can search for those entities and see things like who are their competitors, what does the industry look like, how is it segmented, and then you can also see partnerships that already exist. And if you go down further, and I think this is one of the most valuable things from CB Insights, is seeing the investors who have provided funding for the company over its lifespan. And in the case of Discord, which is huge, there's a lot of data and a lot of information here. You may not see that as much with smaller guys, but I think that that's really great and really helpful to look at. Other things here, research information. Sometimes there will be media mentions, which would include things like how many times was this publication or was this organization mentioned in a trade journal, on a business blog, in another company's report that they submitted. That they just do a great job of compiling information about that company that might not be in any kind of formal or systematic way available to you, but you can go in and see that kind of information. There's also a lot of data, a lot of kind of statistical information about the company, about its funding, et cetera. So definitely take a look at this. You can also research investors and get information about them. Where have they invested? Who have they partnered with? And all of that's available through CB Insights. This is one of 2 resources that requires that you log in, that I'm going to show you guys. The other resource that I want you to be aware of for this kind of research is Simply Analytics. And Simply Analytics is one of the 2 marketing tools that I want to show you guys, or market research tools, I should say. And this resource is going to provide you with once I log in here, very detailed information about communities, about populations, and not just the usual demographic stuff like you would get from the Census Bureau, but also consumer behavior related information. This is not an easy resource if you haven't used it before. And there's lots of other video content that I've already created. And if you are interested in this, you can reach out to me or take a look at some of the stuff that I've posted online in some of the guides that I'll show you. I'll just give you a basic idea of what this looks like. When you go into the resource, once you have an account, you can select a geography. In my case, I'm going to select Philadelphia. And here it's going to give you some variables just to fill your report with. And these are some really basic, consumer or, demographic stuff, age and income and educational attainment. Because I've selected Philadelphia and because I have a couple data variables, it's already showing me a map here with those variables. One of my 2 variables In this case, it's educational attainment presented on a map of Philadelphia and the surrounding area at the zip code level. And I can change that around here. If I go in, I can go down even to block groups or census tract. And I can also change the variable that I'm looking at. So here is money, income in Philadelphia, which is no surprise to anyone if you know the city. That's fine, all well and good. It's interesting stuff. But what is really valuable here are all the data that are available in this report that you can search either by using these different categories, or you can go in and see the sources of information. MRI is one of the big market research outfits in the United States, and their data are available that you can plot on a map of any city, any town, any zip code, and get information about populations there in terms of their purchasing habits, lifestyles, and attitudes. It can be really overwhelming and also kind of cumbersome to go in and try to find what it is you're interested in. What I prefer to do is just keyword it up over here. I'm going to do a search for bicycle. And one of the things that I like to demo this is actually from the Census Bureau. This isn't a consumer report, but this is the percentage of folks who travel to work, commute via bicycle. And you can see that there's, relative to most of the US population, there's actually quite a few bicycle commuters in Philadelphia. And the population, that demographic gets higher as you go to more to the center part of the city. There's other things that you can search for, and you can see that when I do that, it just imports that, and that becomes yet another variable that's viewable on my map. I can go over here, I can add, and this took me a while to figure out that that's what I actually wanted to search for, but I wanted to see here information about people who purchased a bicycle or who ride a bicycle. And so I looked at people who ride a road bike a few times a month, and you can see this becomes a little bit more interesting. All right, so I have this visual here of zip codes with relatively high numbers of people who, at least on occasion, more than average, use a road bicycle. So if I have a business idea to open a bike shop, I can get an idea of where it might make sense to do that. But the other thing that I can do here is see where existing businesses are, where are they located. And I can do this with the advanced search feature. I can use an NAICS code, and I can also, I can play around with this in a lot of different ways. I'm going to go ahead and just say name contains for a business, and I'm going to put in bike, or probably put in cycle too, but I'm not going to. This is going to show me on my map all these little locations of different places where there are bike shops, or at least it should. I'm not sure what just happened. I might have messed up here, but it will. You can plot using this search. You can also go in, and this is the way that you can search by industry code to get that information. So the map it's somewhat interesting, it's somewhat helpful, but the other thing that might be more useful to you are rankings, and also a comparison table. So I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to show you a couple of those examples. So here I have some of my data ranked by zip code within the city of Philadelphia. These are my two initial variables. I can add more variables by going over here and editing my view. And I can see when I do that, it will look at those variables, and then I can go here and actually change and modify my results as well. So I can go highest to lowest, or lowest to highest, or what have you. The other thing that you can do with this report is do a comparison. Right now, I'm only looking at Philadelphia. but it's possible that you're interested in other urban areas. So you can go in and add those areas as well. And suddenly it will include those locations in your report. So if you wanted to say, here are some unique things about Philadelphia that set it apart from other metropolitan areas. Here are some needs in the city that aren't being met, or some aspects of consumers' preferences or lifestyles. You could really get a lot of good insight by looking at Simply Analytics and really across the United States. You could use this comparison table as well to compare different zip codes within one city, or different, even different counties within a state. I'm not sure if that would be useful, but there's lots of different ways to slice and dice data and analyze it within this resource. I know that's a very quick and dirty way of of looking at this, but I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. The other resource that I want you to be aware of for marketing, and that is thankfully a much easier tool to use, is Mintel Market Research. You'll see that here. You don't need to register to use this. When you go in, you'll see that it's basically going to present you with a number of reports, and you can search those reports and get the information that you need. I'm going to do a simple search for cosmetics, and I'm going to look at the most recent report on color cosmetics. And when I load that, it's going to give me kind of a general overview. And then I can go in and see the different aspects of this report and the consumer insights here. This is really useful. And Mintel contains information about different products and industries, but it also contains information about different consumer populations. So if you're interested in a specific age group, if you're a racial or ethnic group, if you're interested in a certain college students or LGBT folks, you could go in and find reports about that population and see like what are values that are important to them, what are trends that are happening within those communities or within those populations, and you can get information that way as well. So a very easy resource to use and pretty regularly updated content. All right. Let me show you two more things. I'll shut up then and let you guys ask any questions that you have. The other really helpful business resource for just finding any kind of quantitative stuff, and if it's not going to let me, I'm not going to fight it. I'll just say a little bit about it, is Statista. This resource allows you to search for all kinds of topics and both US and international data. There's no analysis. It's almost exclusively quantitative stuff. But if you need a chart or a graph or a simple spreadsheet to demonstrate a point or some information about your product or about consumers, this is a great place to go to get that kind of information. And last resource I'm going to mention, I know it's in my best bets page, is IBISWorld. This is an industry research database, and it's not going to have a lot of consumer insight, but it will provide you with a lot of information about industries and competition within a given industry. So I'm going to do a search for solar, and solar power in the US is the report that I'm just going to show you. This is, again, just one very basic example of what a report looks like. They're pretty consistently formatted, and you can see that it's going to give you kind of an executive summary with some key information about what are the external drivers, how is this industry being impacted by other trends, whether they're technology or regulatory stuff. If you scroll down further, you can see that there is a lot of kind of charts, graphs, visualizations, and a lot of this stuff is interactive content. And there's also good analysis that's included within IBISWorld. Also kind of industries that are related to the industry that you're interested in or that you might be looking at. And there's just all kinds of stuff within this database. So it doesn't have to be a really techie industry. I mean, you could just go in and do a search food trucks, and here we have a food trucks in the United States report, which is awesome. And this is recent. It's just from last year, not more than 6 months old, 7 months old. So this could be a useful report. The depth of detail in these reports is really great. You can see and navigate that over here with the menu at the left. So this is, again, kind of just an introduction to the various resources, the different things that are available to you. You can find more information. Why is everything crashing? Well, you can find more information at library.temple.edu. And you can also reach out to me at adams@temple.edu if you have questions. And if we have time, Neil, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that folks have.
Yes, we do have time. Thank you, Adam. First of all, a round of applause. Adam, I know you might not be able to hear it, but that was awesome. Thank you. If you do have a question that you want Adam to answer, just raise your hand and wait until Jaden comes over with the microphone. Again, Adam can't hear you if you don't talk into the microphone, so just wait. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, come on, there's got to be one. Thank you.
Hi, Emily Doniet. Here, I am an alum of Temple Beasley School of Law, and my question is as it pertains to folks who are trying to study very niche audiences, perhaps like understudied audiences. And an example that I'll use is poetry, which is who I serve, and I often have a hard time getting data points that are really valuable for my business.
Right. Yeah, I do think that makes sense. I think some of the things that, I would still even attempt that in a resource like Simply Analytics. Just see, is there something like, I've been to a poetry reading, I've been to a spoken word event, I enjoy reading poetry. I mean, those sometimes are demographic or like consumer profile questions that are asked. I don't know that exists, but I would at least begin by doing that. I might also look at a resource like Google Scholar to see, has there been any research that someone else has done on the population of folks who interact with poetry, whether it's by reading it themselves, buying volumes of poetry, or going to readings or spoken word events or things like that. So you may end up doing something that's a little out of the way, like looking at scholarship, which I don't usually recommend for entrepreneurship folks, like seeing peer-reviewed journals and stuff like that. But I think in your case, it might be worthwhile to see if somebody's done some research on that.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else?
Other questions?
How many of the data sources are recommended that we use for our presentation?
That's a Neil question.
Yeah, that's a me question. So the question was, how many data sources do we recommend for the presentation? There's not a set number. I can think of instances where somebody has used one data point or a couple of data points and have made a really strong case. I can think of instances where people have used 17 data points and have not made a really strong case. So I think it's about finding a data that is relevant to kind of what you are studying. And again, Adam mentioned this at the beginning, but we are thinking of this as, I know we are pitching to judges, and the judges are not actually investing in you, but you are thinking of this as an investor pitch deck, meaning pretend you were in a room full of investors and people that were going to potentially be giving money to you. What sorts of data points would be helpful for them to hear? The one that I always like to talk to, and Adam mentioned this a little bit, is growth or potential growth, right? If your service, if your app, if your whatever is catering to a dwindling population and there's no real pivots available, it's really niche, and that population is like statistically going down, probably not like something that you probably want to explore something else. And so I think anytime you can show either a customer base or a potential for growth, that's something that an investor is going to, right? Because an investor is going to want to say, I want to get in and be a part of your company, support you now while we're here because you're going to go up. And so I think if you can find some data points that do that, that was a really long-winded way of saying there's not like one right answer. I think you should include some, right? You should not just kind of, as the kids say, go off of vibes and like just kind of give it an awesome presentation because you give an awesome presentation. You should have some data points, but there's not like a magic number that says, oh, if you get over 4.5 data points, then you're set. So sorry, that doesn't answer your question. Okay, good.
I have a second question.
Okay, second question.
To which extent are we allowed, or like, can we use AI for our research?
I can talk about that a little bit.
That'd be great. And then I can chime in too.
Okay, great. I mean, I'm not an AI hater as strongly as some folks are, or as scared of it. I think that it can be really helpful. I also think it can be really reductive and misleading. I think that one of the ways that I would use AI is, first of all, to get some background information and maybe understand sort of the broader aspects of an industry or of something that's going on. I like to use AI sources that cite where they got their information from. And if they don't ask me, then I ask it, where did you get this information from? And I then go and find that information myself so that it's not just some kind of ex nihilo black box of something that a bot made up. So for me, I approach it as I would with any information, that I try to find other sources and triangulate and understand, where did that information come from? Can I confirm this in a more traditional or vetted source? If not a peer-reviewed article, which you definitely don't need to use, can I find it in an industry report from a publisher that's established and well-regarded? I certainly wouldn't cite an AI tool, in any context, but I still think that it's valuable to look and ask a chat bot or some other AI source, for background information or context.
Like Adam and I are of one mind. That's the exact answer that I was going to give. It should not be the end all be all. It can be a great. I'm having some research block and I don't kind of know where to turn. Let me see if I can ask it some probing questions that might give me a new direction to go in. And yes, 100%. If whatever tool you are using does not give you citations or where that AI tool found that stuff, you need to ask it. And if you can't find and kind of corroborate what it is giving out to you, I would very highly, strongly recommend you not including that because it most likely is just a bot or something pulled off of some far corner of the internet that is probably not true. So
I should, if I may, I should just say one other thing about AI. So we're starting to see a lot of AI integrated into library resources. So Statista, which I wasn't able to show you for whatever, I'm sure it's a matter of clearing cookies at the moment, which I'm not going to do. But Statista has an AI integrated thing, and it lets you talk and blah blah blah, and it's cool, it's fine. But I found it pretty limited. What I wanted it to do was aggregate information from across reports within the resource, which I thought was a pretty small ask, and it really didn't do a super great job. One of the challenges, I think, is, you can ask it to do things like that, but then even when it does it, you have to still check and make sure that it did a good job.
Yep.
So I have uploaded annual reports or financials into ChatGPT from across years and have tried to get it to report trends and create information about how that company has evolved over time or what events have happened. And it's done a pretty good job with that kind of work. But I had to go through and make sure that it didn't screw up anywhere and that there weren't any hallucinations. So in a way, it it was kind of helpful and it kind of did a good job, but it also still required a lot of like cognitive effort on my part to make sure that that it was actually doing what I wanted it to do. And I think that that's kind of a lesson, or kind of something I could say to you all. Don't just trust that AI is doing what it's supposed to do. It may not be nefarious, but it's just limited, and it does hallucinate. It does kind of go off the rails sometimes. I also think it's pretty reductive, and I think my experience with BYOBB participants is that you all already know a lot about your industry. The purpose of these library tools and resources is to demonstrate that you have a lot of backing for what it is you're trying to do, what it is you're articulating to an investor. I don't know that AI is going to really is going to move the needle very much in that sense, but maybe.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Adam. Other questions? Anybody? Okay. I'm sure, Adam, that there is loads and loads of stuff at the library that you did not show us that are great resources. And so, again, hopefully there are some things that got sparked for you here that you can go and investigate further yourself. If you run into issues, email myself, email Adam, like he said. I'm happy to connect. I know we have at least one alum in the room, so if we're looking for access and need help with that, that's another place to go, is to Adam or myself to kind of help navigate that. So Adam, before we let you go, any final words, anything you want to share?
No, not at all. Just best of luck with everyone. I look forward to talking to some of you and learning more about your projects. Super excited. Love working with entrepreneurs, and I hope everybody has a great time of it. Thanks.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Care. All right. So I have a few more slides just to kind of chat a little bit about kind of what the BYOBB is looking for in terms of a rubric. Again, a lot of this is contained on the shared resource folder that you can check out. Those numbers are off, so don't look at those. But things that we are looking for, we're looking for market segments. And again, if you need help with those definitions, let me know. We talked about target customers or user needs that are addressed by your idea, by your business. What is your value proposition? And then the size of the market, again, both current and projected. So what are your market segments? I'm not going to go through all these. Again, these slides will be contained within the shared resource folder so that you can look into. But the one that I really want to highlight here is if you have more than one market segment, you need to prioritize a little bit. And the way that you would prioritize is by looking at things like, what is the largest, what is the easiest to reach? Is there something that has the biggest pain point or something that is the most likely to buy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As a reminder, this is a 7-minute presentation that our finalists are being asked to give. If this was a half-hour presentation, you could probably go through half a dozen market segments and cover all of them a little bit. Probably the best one for you to be able to address in your presentation is going to be 1, maybe 2, if you are kind of trim some stuff in other parts of your presentation, but just kind of pointing that out. Again, that research piece, a lot of the tools that Adam shared are ways that you can answer those questions. Another way to kind of think about this is how big is your slice, and we're going to have an example about Windows in a second. So what is the total market, and then what is the serviceable market, and then what is the share of the market kind of as we go from biggest down to smallest, and think of the share of the market as the obtainable market. So if we think about energy efficient window replacement, so the total addressable market is, in this example, is 172 billion. That is all total window and door sales worldwide. So again, that's just kind of a way for, if somebody were to make a pitch about energy efficient window replacement, they might start with that total addressable market of 172 billion. The available market, right? You are not going to be at least at first, the energy efficient window replacement window company for all across the world, right? Maybe let's be just slightly less ambitious and think about just North American window and door sales. And so now that's 29.5. And then your target market is 6.6 billion. So green windows and doors and smart glass sales in North America, again, as we're thinking about this made up company. So this is a really helpful slide, and you can see this kind of infographic with the circle and the different segments that are in there. It's just a way to think about, again, as you're telling the story of kind of where your idea came from and also where it could potentially go, right? That 172 billion number is a nice number to look at. And this kind of shows, right, we might not get to 172 billion, but there's a big piece of the pie out there that we can be going after. We don't have time to watch this, but this is a link to a YouTube video. I will again include it in the description of the YouTube video below. It'll also be linked in the slides in the Google Deck. When thinking about the competitive landscape, what we are looking for in terms of your BYOBB submission is an overview of the competitive landscape, both your direct competitors and then also your indirect competitors, and we'll talk about that a little bit on the next slide. And then what are the competitive advantages that you have, as well as the strengths and also barriers to entry. So all of these things can be really easily considered and addressed in a table like this. So you can think of, I'm sure that anybody that's taken a business class or anything before has seen a table like this. So this is a direct competitors chart. You start at the very top with the company, and then you list the top competitors as well as your idea. And then on the vertical axis, you are selecting criteria that is most important for the customers and the investors to know about. You always want to pick ones that are going to make you look the best. And so think about things that you are either equal or better in. And that could be things like benefits, key features, advantages, price, user adoption time, barriers to entry, all that sort of stuff. And you want to kind of spell out how your competitors stack up. Again, this is going to take a little bit of research, can very easily be done with a lot of the stuff that Adam shared with us. And think about how you stack up. So for this example, Simply Good Jars all the way over on the right-hand side shows kind of how they stand out overall compared to the other direct competitors within this chart. Again, happy to sit down with folks individually if it would be helpful. This is another great thing to reach out to mentors about. They would be a really great resource for people to kind of think about how to structure this, what to include, what not to include, all that good stuff. Another YouTube video that we're not going to watch right here, but that you can definitely watch on your own time is really helpful, thinking about competitive analyst framework. And then here are some resources to help you get started. Again, some of these were covered by Adam in what he talked about, but here are all the different things that you can think about when it helps to tell your story in regards to customers. So again, things like census, relative surveys, industry. He talked about that trade association data, a lot of that coming from those journals. Competitor information, a lot of that is going to come from CB Insights, that tool that he showed. And then just general, right? Is there government data that is available? Was a recent safety report published that talks about the things that your company or your idea is addressing? All of these things are helpful to be able to list. I know this seems like a lot, and we're asking you to package a lot into a submission and potentially a 7-minute presentation. Please hear me say it can be done. And our last session is really going to focus on how to make this fit into an easily digestible and consumable slide deck. These are out of date, but Adam shared with you, and I'll update these in the guides that he and the library team created. And so that really takes us to the end of the content for this session, thinking about market opportunity and the competitive landscape. Before I kind of talk about next steps and what's coming up, does anybody have any questions for me? They want to ask in the group. I'm also happy to stay back if you would rather chat one-on-one. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Great. So the question was, in thinking about data, if you put out your own Qualtrics survey or Google Forms survey, could you use that? Absolutely, yes. I think you just want to clarify by saying either I commissioned a study or I sent out a study. I think you want to maybe put a bullet point in there about, I put this on my social media or my company's social media, or I put QR codes up around campus for people to see. Just so that, again, the investors have a sense of where this came from, right? This wasn't a nationally, contracted study put on by the Pew Institute or anything like that. This was you kind of making this survey because that data can be helpful. So yes, you can definitely use that and share that. I would just give the context as to how the data was obtained. Other questions? Okay, so what's next? So as always, utilize your mentoring resources. Attend next week's workshop on financial projections and assumptions. I know that this is always, I shouldn't say always, this is often a sticking point, often the one that folks feel the most nervous about. How do I've never done anything like this. How do I make sure that I am both honest as well as being positive with my future projections? So all that sort of stuff. All that will be addressed next week. Would love for you to attend in person. Again, our speaker is going to be here and be able to answer some great questions. But if you can't, watching on YouTube on the playback is a nice option. Definitely do your research. Start digging around in some of those tools that Adam shared. Validate those key assumptions, and then, as always, get feedback. I always like to say, if you are working on something within the biotech space, ask people in the biotech space if this makes sense, but then also ask your friends who are studying 18th century English literature if this makes sense, and your grandparents who are much older than you if this makes sense, and your younger siblings if this makes sense. So get those variety of viewpoints and get feedback on kind of what you're thinking about from a variety of sources so that you can tell the best story that you can. This is the QR code for next week. So again, just kind of going over your financial projections and assumptions. I'll include a registration link in the YouTube description as well. Seeing some folks scanning, so just waiting a second. And then another shameless, that QR code really shrunk down. I hope people can still scan. Shameless plug is that tomorrow, so maybe by the time you all are watching this today, on Thursday, February 5th, right here in the accelerator starting at 5 p.m., Mike Curlin from McKinsey & Company is kicking off this semester's Innovation Leader Speaker Series for us here at the IAI. Again, talking a lot about artificial intelligence today. His talk is about artificial intelligence and its role in regional economic development. Mike has been a friend of the IAI and has talked to us before. He's an awesome speaker, a really great opportunity to come and connect with him. So if you are available, definitely come see. We would love to have you be a part of it. I think that is it. Yes, that is our ending slide. So thank you all for being here. Grab some pizza in the back. I will stick around if there are any other questions. And yeah, thanks again for being here. Oh, thank you. Wait, let me stop the recording.